with us. Faith Ken, Wanjiku Thiga, Elijah Sawe, Abdulaziz Mohammed, Dr. Derek Barasa, and Victor Kiprono. Much appreciated for your time and company. Always lovely to engage young Kenyans. Yes, Victor, I'll come to you, Abdi.
Thank you, Ayub. Now, to prosecute the matter of apology, and I want even to ask the youth leader from DCP to tell us where his party leader was during the...
Our party leader
was during the morning prayer breakfast, because I thought this was a national agenda, and we ought to have seen all leaders from all spheres coming together and harmoniously agreeing with the fact that as a country we've had our mistakes and now we can move forward as a country. Nevertheless, in the past 2 or 3 days, our country has been served with the realities of the abductions, and now it is in full reality that the people who've been actually orchestrating and planning the abductions are actually the people who are crying loud outside this government. The Wamunyoro, I call him the Wamunyoro Impichi, has over time told us how this government has meted a lot of injustices to the young people. You see, my brother Ayub, I was shocked that the person of an elected member of parliament could abduct himself, go to a bush somewhere, make some noises, and someone took the photos and the videos and tell us that he was abducted by this regime so that you can look popular after you launched a party and then your party didn't pick. For some reasons, the party is not popular. And now you want to create some dramas here and there so that you can look popular. We want to prosecute this matter today, and we want now the owners and the planners of all these things that are happening to tell us boldly that, does it mean that the Gen Zs who disappeared, are they among the people who planned? I gave an example of Kibet Bull when I was here 1.5 weeks ago. Someone who disappeared, reserved somewhere in a disco Matanga, and then we were told that he was abducted. We've seen the same script being played by those people who are out of government, telling us the way abduction are planned. And they are the people actually who are planning abductions, and then they blame it on government so that the government looks naked. I want also to challenge our intelligence that now you need to train your guards on these people and do investigations and tell the country the truth. Who are these criminal gangs? Who are these criminal gangs who are doing the abduction? Because I believe there are criminal gangs actually who are doing abductions and not the government.
Okay, this is my question then. 2 questions. What is the correlation between George Koimburi, Kibet Bull, and 60 lives that were lost? Second, if then criminal gangs can abduct more than 59 people, the Inspector General tells Parliament they don't know about their whereabouts. More than 1,160 people sustained gunshot wounds, and 60 people were killed pre, during, and post the demonstrations in 2024. Then what kind of country are we living in?
To contextualize this matter.
Yeah, no, these are lives, Victor. It's not a matter of context.
And I acknowledge the fact that there were lives lost.
Yes, what is the correlation between George Koimburi, Kibet Bull, and 60 lives that were lost?
The correlation and the denominator here is abduction.
So all of the 60 people abducted themselves, according to you?
Now, to bring this matter into context.
Yes.
We've had a situation in this country where people sometimes disappear. We've had the Shakahola massacre, for example, where more than 100 Kenyans disappeared in a government existing fully with intelligence. Now, that time, there were criminal activities done in the country, and the intelligence and the government of the day and the establishment under the leadership of His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta didn't actually realize there were criminal gangs. In the same context, maybe there are criminal activities, but again...
So in your view, Victor, to just be...
in my view, there are people who are playing politics.
Okay, so all the 60 lives were all politics?
I'm not saying all the 60 lives were politics.
Yes, but so why then correlate? Why are you relating?
But I'm saying again...
The point of George Koimburi, which is under active investigations,
yes,
and 60 young Kenyans who are fell.
You know, the problem, Ayub, with this country is that we try to politicize everything that happens. If the person of an elected member of parliament can abduct himself and blame it on government...
You have prosecuted that point.
What?
Victor, I get your point.
Yes.
I have understood your point. You're absolutely clear on that. What then is the correlation between George Koimburi's self-abduction, as you have called it, happened in 2025, a year down the line since 60 young Kenyans were killed? Assuming if I was among the 60 who I was shot, how will you feel?
The report actually that came out, and when the president acknowledged the matter about abductions.
He didn't acknowledge. He disputed the figures by the taxpayer-funded Kenya National Commission on Human Rights.
But again, Ayub, we have an independent police force who are tasked to do this investigation. Why then every time you bring in, the president, again, gave the police the independence to prosecute these matters. And the police are doing their job by telling us what is happening. It doesn't mean, for heaven's sake, and for us to be fair enough, let the police do their independent job. And if there are people who are criminally doing the abductions, let's prosecute that matter differently, and let's not mix issues so that we make the head of state and the government
the place of institutions.
So negative.
Okay, point made. Yes, Derek, Abdul will come to you, and then Faith, and then to you.
The sentient opinion by my friend Kiprono are actually a very big disgrace. Let me just use that word for lack of a better statement to say. You see, when you say police is making investigations, and police has said the man has abducted. So which one do we listen to? The police itself is confusing us. You see, just last week when you were saying the man kidnapped himself, there was a hearing, I think, in a Kiambu court, Justice Abigail Mushila. And Justice Abigail Mushila read the law.
You're talking about?
Yes, about Koimburi.
Koimburi, yes.
Koimburi's case. And it was a habeas corpus warrant that you should produce the body. And it was read to the police itself to produce the body. For you, where Kiprono ukikuja pale, and you decide to say at Koimburi and 60 other Kenyans have been abducting themselves. And most of all, let me just pinpoint this, and this you should never repeat it, Kiprono. Usijaribu kusema kitu tena. Shakahola people were never abducted. Whatever happened in Shakahola, you were still healing from that. And for you, when you come here to try to tell us that Shakahola, 60 other Kenyans, and Kibet Bull, seriously. These are people who are championing. I am sure 60 years from now, someone will write a book about Kibet Bull ati alipigania nchi. And for you, well, Kiprono hapo umefanya nini nchi? For you have decided to come here and call all these people abducting themselves and all these things. Let me say, you see, in Zimbabwe there was a man called Morrison Nyadhi. Morrison Nyadhi, when people were fighting, the freedom fighters against the white man, this guy went and distorted the weapons of all these people, and later that eventually led to their capture. Because when they were caught, they failed to fire. You see, in Mau Mau, Kenya, when we were fighting, there was a guy called Ndirangu Mau. Ndirangu Mau was the man who eventually decided to go and hand over the Dan Kimathi to the white man, and the rest is history like we see today. What we see Kiprono here and many other young people on this panel, we shall see them by their fruit. What they're saying here today is a clear example that they have been socialized to that particular club of the individualistic, the rich and the unholy that we talk about in this government. When you see them talking about, Kiprono, you're a young man, seriously. If I look at you, 20 years from now. 20 years from now, let me make my point. I kept quiet when you're talking. Let me just make my point. You see, 20 years from, if you proceed like this, we shall not have a country. We shall not have a country with leaders that think Shakahola was a joke. We shall not have a country with people that think all these goings on are actually a joke. You see, the people like Kiprono here that we see have failed the ethical test. They have failed the ethical test because they are avoiding the real political struggle, and they are deciding to conform to this regime.
Okay, which is?
To mention the real issues, to cite out these issues like I'm doing here particularly, what they are deciding to do is try to dramatize, to fall to the defense of the system, so for their own particular gain. And we are clear about that. Last week we were here, Kazmuel Makore, Morana Kebaso, all these, I'm calling out those names. Whoever is falling prey to this regime, we are seeing you and want to sound a resounding warning to them, particularly. You see, this country needs a surgery, and we are identifying those people one by one. Kiprono, when in number moja, you are among those people who will fall on the table for surgery. Where?
Okay.
Kazmuel, Morara,
yes.
Tutanguka now, what? And surgery without anesthesia.
And I hope that does not translate.
I have the right of reply because
but okay, I'll come to you. Allow me to share the time around. We have enough time. Yes,
now to finish on the apology, and if you look at that day, the events starting from the build-up. The sentiments that were made were not friendly, were far much threatening the Gen Zs. Now, I am perplexed to explain whether the president's apology came after the American star, Ricky Bolden, said we should listen to the Gen Z, or is it coming after or is he emulating what Museveni did? Because it's Museveni who asked for the forgiveness. So I am confused. Now, on the issue of Koimbiri, I am also confused to explain how the same DCI could not find the abductors 1 year down the line, yet they can complete the investigation and zero into the abductors in less than 24 hours. So I don't know where we stand. I don't know what is happening.
Okay, yes, Faith. I'll come to you, Sawa and Jacob.
Thank you so much, Ayub. So, I don't know where to start from, but first
Anywhere you so wish.
I'll just pick it up from me. I mean, there's a post I did sometime back on my Facebook page about youth and politics of opinion. And right now it's so sad that we've reduced our conversations to now individual politics rather than fighting a unified cause. If at all, youths are talking about change that they so much preach about. If we come here to this panel and start talking about individuals like Casmuel, and we have so many issues with the youth that if we can actually have a proper strategic and one channel, we can actually bring change. Now, Onjeku mentioned something to do with the bar, and sorry to say that, but it's so sad if you are the person talking about the bar and your party leader is Rigathi Gachagua, then, I mean, there is no bar there. You can't be talking about youth and the bar being too low and your party leader is Rigathi Gachagua, and I think we should stop this double standard. Or we want to call out one person and forgo another person because now, so long as you're speaking a different language or you're opposing the government, then that is the way to go. So lives were lost, and it's a sad thing. And this is something that no one should joke about. And we should actually acknowledge that lives were lost, and the government should work on a proper way to compensate the families that lost their lives, and these are people's kids, mothers are still mourning. Some people haven't even found their kids. So we shouldn't actually try to ignore the fact that youths lost their life in the streets. And what we should push on is IPOA to bring forth the perpetrators, the government to conclude on the investigations and give these families closure. So that is, I think, the most decent thing. That is the decent thing all of us can talk about. But now when we talk about real change and the youths and politics, I mean, we should just be real. We should just be real. Ruto apologizing and we're saying that is not enough. And at the same time, we're supporting people like Rigathi Gachagua, who, I mean, has committed so many atrocities to this country that even if you start mentioning, so we shouldn't be talking about the bar and one side mentioning another person and excusing the other.
Okay, Wanjuk, I'll come to you for a right of reply.
Yes, and Ayub, I said this last time that when I was here that it doesn't mean that when something is wrong and it's done by William Ruto, then it is right, or something is right and it is done by Gachagua, then it is wrong. Let's make it very plain and clear. If something is wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, it's right. That's right. And let's not talk about bars and whatever when we're actually talking about a progressive government. This government has 5 years mandate. We've seen the events since this happened. We've seen the independence and the latitude that IPOA and judiciary has had to even be able to prosecute and discuss these matters. What we
but that's already granted, is it, even before this government came to power? But
we've had such events
it's
before.
Constitutionally granted.
We've had such events before, but we never saw it. It never saw the light of the day. So what we know in this country is that the goodwill of the presidency is very important in the independence and the maturity of the different agencies that we have in this country. And I think what William Ruto has done, separating the funding of police to be directly run by the IG, giving the latitude to IPOA to make those decisions, allowing judiciary to make rulings and following those rulings. Although we've had rulings that we can say questionably, we've had issues with them, but William Ruto, as a president and the leader of the executive, has continuously given us hope in terms of how the maturity of the institutions have been. And this is a fact. When we can look at the numbers, we can look at the statistics. When President Moi and KANU leadership, that my friend Dr. Barasa is now leading the political advisory team in KANU, was in leadership, we saw all these things happen, but there was never any justice that were even provided or any processes that were done. So what we must think and agree as young people is that where we are is not where we want to be. But can we appreciate the fact that we are moving in the right direction? And if the speed that we are moving is not good enough, then what can we do to be able to improve that? So what I wish to hear is that The IPOA actually delivers the verdict to the police officers. The judiciary delivers the judgment. Let's have the people who have been prosecuted lined up. Then we see no action taken. Then we can blame the presidency and say, okay, President William Ruto, as the leader of this government, we haven't seen these actions being implemented. What can you tell Kenyans about the police officers who have been charged and have not been fired?
Okay.
Or when we see the report from the IPO about all this, and we don't see government taking any action, even after the commitment. The president made a commitment that all these families will be given some sort of, they will receive benefits and also be because they lost their children. So until that is not done, because right now he has mandate for 5 years, we are seeing the progress in court, we are seeing the progress with the IPOA. So if this is not done, then we can hold him accountable. But it is unfair today if you say that this will happen, and you haven't given us a timeline, then we just blame you because it has not happened, then I think that's unfair.
Okay, Elijah, first, just on a factual point, the president has no prosecutorial powers. IPOA is among the other institutions that is empowered by the Constitution.
But he runs the executive that funds the institutions.
And the funding is done by Parliament, which the president has no control over.
Thank you. Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yes, but how come?
So I was coming to the point of the rule of law which you brought in.
Yes.
Because in January 2024, in Nyandarua County, the president led a battalion of political class, including the leadership of the House, to attack judges and the judiciary. Was that healthy in a democracy?
Sorry?
Was that healthy in a democracy?
What?
Attacking the judiciary. Accusing judges of corruption where there was none.
Yeah. No, but we had a process that was done by the Judiciary Oversight Authority, and we actually we even have names of judges who actually found guilty of bribes and whatever. So I think the president was talking from a context. There are judgments that were ruled, and we actually saw that process completed.
Well, it's only Gachagua who said he will deliver a petition before the Judicial Service Commission, and he never showed up. We expected him at the Supreme Court. Yes, Wanjiko.
Abdikadir, thank you for giving me the right of reply. Kiprono, I'm shocked by your lack of empathy. It's really shocking, and that's what reflects this regime. It is not empathetic to the misgivings and the abductions and the fear, the weight of fear that young people are carrying. Not only young, even the political class. George Koimburi is my MP in Juja. I come from Juja constituency. You see, he was abducted, what he went through. I know, Kiprono, you haven't gone to hospital to see him, so you are speaking hypothetically. But he's in pain.
Who abducted him?
Exactly. That's the question. And he's saying he is self-abducted. But why would he throw such a callous statement out here? You see, that is character.
Two issues to be clear. We have addressed substantively the issue of the young souls that were cut short.
Yes.
And why did the MP, according to authorities, stage his abduction? Because the vehicle, according to the data, the NTSA portal, belonged to another gentleman. It wasn't a vehicle that was registered at the government of Kenya. So why would an elected member of parliament go that far?
And that's you see, what we have and at the moment, what is going on, it's that with the abductions that are going on at the moment, and I've always kept asking myself, who has this intelligence and the infrastructure to do this? It's not only even my MP. There's also an honorable member called Grace City. We don't know where she is. Honorable member from Moranga County, she's an MCA. You see, back in the day, that's what happened to JM. He disappeared, and the next minute, we found his body. His body was dumped. So we can't take these matters or these cases lightly. It's a weighty issue. It's really a weighty issue. And we are taking lives lost with a lot of, with a lot of, at one kind of big deal. But when our life is lost, so many families undergo a lot of pain. And that is somebody whose time hadn't come to an end. So it has been cut short. And another issue that my party leader did not show up at the National Prayer Breakfast meeting. Where will he come to sit in a place where a regime that pushes abduction, where economic rights of not only young people, but of Kenyans, of citizens, are not being looked at care after, where healthcare is not being prioritized, where education, matters that are very basic to Kenyans, are not being looked after. For us, and that's why we are championing.
Was he invited?
I don't know. At the end of the day, because he's a political leader, so whether with invite or not, he might decide to go or not. But at the end of the day, the question is, why would he go and sit down and do perform? And that, for me, that prayer breakfast is a lot of performance. At the end of the day, we must, because leadership is service. So at the end of the day, we must be true to our citizens. And first of all, and I think this is so important, empathetic leadership is so critical.
Okay.
And we do not take that, we don't take that too much importance in this country.
And your party leader championed for some of those policies when he was the deputy president.
And he actually, Abdikadir, and one thing I want to say, my party leader has shown efforts to, first of all, I know my party leader is not an angel, but he has shown efforts of reconciliatory measures. He has apologized on the things he said, that because at the end of the day, he was a deputy president. And if you're a deputy, your work is obedience. You're told this, you implement that. And we know we are all employed, so we know where we work. Our first act is obedience.
But his apology also
Number two, during the Gen Z protest, Rigathi Gachagua was the only person, he did 2 press statements, pressers, standing with the young people. And as young people, we must map out our allies. We do have to map out our allies. Number 3, we have a political party called DCP party. Kiprono here has said that we are doing a lot of drama because, the DCP party is not performing. I want to tell you, right now, when we are just unveiled. I think we are just even two
3 weeks.
Yeah, old. We just unveiled, and already, when the parliament was back on recession, why did they spend a whole afternoon speaking about my party leader? Why are you claiming that we are not popular? We are very popular. Okay. Even with 3 weeks old. How many members have we registered today?
How many?
Well, our deputy party leader said over 2.5 million people have already registered into our party. Yeah. Allow me to also talk. Let me talk about this. Let me talk about DCP party, because people keep talking about one element about DCP party. And our party leader, Rigathi Gachagua, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua. I agree, and I say here, he's a critical and an important element of DCP party. But DCP party is not about one person. DCP party is the whole party. It's an institution. It's a political institution where we promote active democracy. For us, and our ideologies, let me talk about our ideologies. Our ideologies is equality, justice, and inclusivity. Rigathi Gachagua has given 5 neck positions to young people. 5. I am among the people who are sitting at the neck. And I want to say that is showing that truly he means well for young people, and he is supporting the young people. And let's talk about even the DCP party as an institution, because we have structures. We have the NDC, we have NEC. Okay. So people really obsessing about a party and one person. It's not it.
Okay.
And the party leader actually told us, he told us his dream of this party. It has to go beyond him.
Okay.
This is an institution that we're building to stay here for years.
All right. Point again. Point again.
I wanted to mention something.
Let me just wait.
Yes, Faith. Allow me to get the lady.
He said his party leader, she has said that her party leader is not an angel. And the party leader's apology also started with an F. So if, I'm not trying to draw a comparison, but if you're going to put some rules, let the rules apply to everyone. I mean, Ruto comes out and His Excellency the President comes out to apologize, and then you're choosing the if part, and the same thing your party leader said, and you're now saying your party leader is not an angel, and expecting the President to be an angel, So it doesn't really make sense. And you can't be talking about the neck when this person, when he was still in government, when he was talking about the shareholding, he had 7 positions. He never gave them to any youth from his community. So let us not be people, let us stop having selective amnesia when it comes to other issues that doesn't involve us, but apply to other people.
Okay, yes, Victor, we'll come to you. Just hang on.
Thank you, Ayub. And excuse me if I am misquoted. I am a realist. I have been, in fact, I have been misquoted. And I need to set the record straight. I am a realist.
Yes, please.
I am not come here to be empathetic. I've just come here to speak the truth and go back home and continue playing my patriotic rights as a citizen. Today, I am on Citizen Television to just state facts and from where I sit and from my own point of perspective.
Okay.
I am saddened by my brother from Kanu, who is trying to lecture me on matters of democracy and on matters human rights. Yet, when we draw back to history, because as an historian, it tells us that we learn from history so that we can mirror where we are going. And now he's the one telling us how we are supposed to behave, how democracy is supposed to be done, how things are supposed to be done, when the 24-year rule party by his former party leader was meted with a lot of injustices. Now, the same my sister is calling selective amnesia is actually what is happening. Many people have chosen to be emotional on subjects that are critical so that they can look politically right. I am not choosing that path. I'm choosing the path of truth. I'm choosing the path of true leadership and true transformation. True transformation will come when we are true to ourselves and we face realities not by being emotional so that we can look right, so that we can look politically right,
okay.
But we choose, and I choose to say what I'm saying today because I want to be understood from a point of the realities from where I sit, not from an emotional point of view. Again, when we talk about Democratic Citizens People Party, we mention the word democracy. This is the same political party with a party leader who is telling musicians from his own community that you will be unfollowed. You will not be allowed to go to cinemas and to go to clubs and to perform if you side with the president, yet you call yourself a democratic party. Then we ask yourself, what is the meaning of democracy? What exactly is the meaning of democracy? Democracy dictates that you freely engage, you freely perhaps you freely engage with different persons. You don't have to be singing a choir to one master. But now the same people who are now telling us about how to behave are the same party leader, for heaven's sake, who is telling musicians from his own community that you will be unfollowed, telling even people unfollow them, don't even invite them to come to your weddings because they have gone to State House or they have gone to Karen to meet the Deputy President. And yet you are a political party telling us about democracy.
So,
yet you have the moral authority to come here and tell us about the President issuing an apology. Excuse me.
In your view, what's the definition of a democracy?
In my view, the definition of democracy is the free will. The free will.
Respect the will of the people.
Exactly.
And the president did not respect the will of his MPs when they chose Kindiki over Gachagua in 2022.
True. But again, the president now, at that context, is the one who appointed his deputy, because the deputy is an appointee of the.
But there was the process was subject to a voting, and members of parliament from Mount Kenya region preferred Kindiki over Gachagua at the time.
But there were other prevailing circumstances that therefore made at that time His Excellency the President to choose Gachagua over Kindiki because of some reason known to him at that particular point in time.
But you understand in a democracy, the only circumstance that can be accepted is the will of the people, which is its outcome. Americans elected and gave themselves a convicted felon. They are living with the reality, Donald Trump.
But again, we also need to be fair enough when we are prosecuting democracy. In a context of the president appointing Gachagua as his running mate over Kindiki was, for example, the prevailing circumstances at that time.
Okay.
You know, we were in a regime where His Excellency the President had a lot of issues with his finances. His finances were frozen. And perhaps he was looking for ways in which he can circumnavigate the political scene and become the president. Now, talking about democracy in a context of a party telling us about democracy.
Democracy is democracy, Victor.
But again, why do we become selective?
Yeah.
When we want to make government look so negative, even on small matters that are therefore not even necessary. Because today,
Victor, the government at any given time is subject to accountability because they are exercising power on behalf of the people. And anyone who holds public office is subject to accountability, including the head of state. And he himself, by the way, a reminder, in January 2023, his first major television interview, 4 months after he came to office, said, "I am an open book, read me as you so wish."
And that open book, we've been reading it so openly.
Yeah.
And I know there is no president in Africa. There is no president in Africa who has been so open than His Excellency William.
Okay,
William Ruto has been the most open president we've ever seen. Now to finish.
Yes, finish up, please.
My brother from Kanu is telling me that
is my name.
that I will be subject
On the surgery.
on the surgery.
I hope that's not violent.
But again, I want to tell my brother that as young people, as we fight and as we, let us not negate the fact that all of us as young people, we throw our aspirations from different perspectives.
Okay.
There are people who have chosen different paths from their own beliefs. He believes that Kanu is, with Jogo, is the one to deliver the country maybe 63 years after independence. And we believe as young people that the president, His Excellency, under United Democratic Alliance, under broad-based government, is the one to deliver the country to the next.
Point made.
Let me.
Yes, please, Derek. Yeah.
See, let me start with. I know I may be Lucius in the way that I stated that statement of surgery, but I think we read the context behind it, and we realize that I'm trying to drive the point home. As young people, we are faced with an intransigence in this government. The Ruto's government has failed all of us. It has not failed me alone. It has failed Kiprono. It has failed everyone here, Sawe, everyone. So, because Share is not working. Education is not working. The funding model, all these things are not working.
Share is working.
Yeah? No, it's not working. Until you fall sick and you go there. It's because you are in government, your bread is battered.
No,
that's why you're saying Share is working. So, let me. Have you used it for critical care? Have you used it for... There's a doctor right now in Moi Teaching who is suffering as they've never had any compensation from SHA. What are you talking about? So because it's not working for you, but that's not the issue now.
SHA is working.
I asked for a right of reply.
There's some flaws, but it's actually working.
You see, I asked for a right of reply. You see, Ayub, let me just use this word. Cooley, I think he passed on the last year, he made a song called The Gangster Paradise. And it's so sad to see Kenya actually fall to the doldrums of a gangster paradise. Just last week, I remember the National Crime Research Center listed about 4 gangs in Nairobi here. Yeah? 42 brothers, Mungiki, Gaza, Wakaliwao, all these people on the streets roaming. Just yesterday, I was walking down the streets here in Nairobi, and I met a leader of a gang. So sad that I actually had lunch in a table opposite his. I was so shocked, I was fearing, but this is how this country has reached. We walk amidst gangsters. Last week, the Finnish president came to State House, Alexander Stubb. And remember, the president categorically accepted, and he said, any abductions, we shall never have abductions again in this country. That means there have been abductions in this country. You see,
abductions.
No, the president himself made, we shall not have any other abductions. He's the same president who said there were no abductions. Later, he's conceding and agreeing that there have been abductions in this government. Now, back to the issue of Koimburi. You see, to say that Koimburi self-abducted himself is to really lack sentience. You see, the other week...
so who abducted him in your view?
No, I'm actually giving the facts.
Yes, yeah.
The deputy president of the Law Society of Kenya, Mwaura Kabata,
yeah.
He came out and read, and he gave us a brief synopsis into the things that happened. 2 days before his arrest, there was a group of plainclothes men.
Whose arrest?
His abduction.
So who abducted him?
His abduction. I'm reading to you. Plainclothes people were seen following this guy.
So it's a fair question.
No.
Who abducted him, Derek?
It's clear in Gashororo, Kiambu. So there was a police dragnet. I'm trying to give you the whole story.
Okay.
There was a police dragnet meant for plainclothes people following this guy. There was a police dragnet aimed particularly to Koimburi. He dodged it. That was 2 days before. 2 days later, the man disappears. And later we find him in Jimmy Wanjigi's farm, in a coffee farm, half dead. His respiratory system is unable to breathe. He's speechless, and right now he's in care and seeking treatment. You see, to use this, you're using the word selective. To be particular, you're saying it is selective where the shoe fits you, and when other people are abducted, For them, they are self.
Okay, so let's get the facts right.
That's not right.
Okay,
that's not right. And let me make this. Right now we are mourning.
Let me ask you this. Just hang on. Pause. On Tuesday at 11 p.m. at night, the DCI said that it has arrested Cyrus Kiero Mohia, the close ally of the Juja MP George Koimburi, and the owner of the Subaru Forester car, which was used in the abduction of the MP.
That comes after the same DCI.
And we corroborated this evidence from the data portal of the NTSA and clearly established that that vehicle which was used to take him on that Sunday belongs to Cyrus Kiero Mohia, a close ally of the MP and the owner.
It is true you corroborated that the car was his. But
so who abducted him? That's my question. It's very
fair.
It
was the police. He was abducted by the DCI. And this has not been the first.
Jerry, hang on. Let's be fair to all parties here so that we have an objective discussion that's not subjective.
Yes.
Cyrus Kiero Mohia is not a police officer.
No, you've clearly said it. The corroboration was about the car being his. It was not about the abduction. It was used particularly in that abduction. I've told clearly there was a dragnet 2 days before that incident laid down by the police. He dodged it in Kashororo.
Okay, so all the vehicles that were involved, assuming then what you're saying, belongs to, these are private vehicles used by the government of Kenya, according to you.
Yeah, we particularly say it's a private, but remember the fact.
So all the abductions that happened in Kenya, the missing persons, Kenyans who are taken off the streets, these vehicles are private vehicles, but used by GOK.
Ayub, the same police are saying the investigations are still ongoing. Why are you quick to issue a verdict?
The point is,
hang on. The same police.
I held Victor to account. I held Sawe to account. I held Wanjiku to account. I have to hold you to account.
When you have 80 abductions between June and October. 80 people were abducted. The president himself conceded there have been abductions in this country. Last week, Father Alois Cheruyot was gunned down, found in a plantation. The other, John Maina. We've had all these...
Derek, I come back to my question again. Who abducted the MP in your view?
It is clear. The same person that abducted 80 youths, 60 youths after the Gen Z, the same person that abducted John Kimball.
Okay, so all the 80 who were abducted, in your view, were abducted using private vehicles belonging to personnel,
clearly,
yet used by the government of Kenya.
The Subaru story started particularly with private vehicles. And you see, police have been using all sorts of things. There was a private vehicles, even in the Gen Z demonstrations here. We saw private vehicles being used particularly by the police. So the evidence of a private vehicle in any way does not rule out government. Government operatives have been clearly using private vehicles to mask these operations. In December, when we saw the Kibet Bull abductions and the other 3 boys, clearly what vehicles were used? They were private vehicles. But can you say that they were private?
And there was no trace.
No, but clearly we saw the
footage. We counter-check as professionals from the database of the National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA.
The footage, but do you realize, you were in the media,
yes.
And you do realize that the 4 abductions that were made last year in December were all made with private vehicles. But can you say it was not government that, the police themselves or the DCI that actually were carrying out these abductions?
I am not saying any party does. It's not for me to pass on the judgment. It's for me to corroborate and verify what is said.
I'm sorry, but you're on a fishing expedition to gather defense for the government.
Again, I come back. I'm not a government employee. Again, I come back. Who in your view then abducted the MP?
It's clear the MP has clearly said it has been abducted by the
not he. I'm just because you have made allegation with you.
I am actually decided. I do believe Koimburi, and it's clear, and it's not the first time. How many people have been abducted? Clear?
Okay.
How many police?
It's a very specific question that you have hovered around. Allow me to bring it up. Yes. Fair. Let's spread the time. Yes, Abdi.
Ayub, we can vary in terms of opinions when it comes to matters of policy, politics and party. But on specific matters of human rights violations, let's first be human, and second, Kenyans. I'm here to urge my friend Kiprono, for once, when we are discussing such a sensitive topic, to forget where his bread is buttered.
My bread is not buttered.
And when you say the president has done enough, and you mock the 60 lives that were lost. What are you trying? You have been given an opportunity to speak in a national television. What are you trying to tell? What emotions are you showing that mama who has lost her child, the one who is still searching for her loved one? Now, are you also aware that a survey that was recently released by TIFA says that 75% of the country feel like the country is headed in the wrong directions. And the main reasons being failed leadership, unemployment, high cost of living, and human rights violation. And majority feel like the president has let them down. And Derek has also pointed on me, at me, when he mentioned Shashi forever is not working. I don't know, maybe because he feels like the cabinet secretary comes from my community. Oh. And you guys started murmuring, you and Faith and Kiprono. Let me school you a little bit on this topic, because you can't be jack of all trades. You've been talking on the human rights violation, but let me school you a little bit when it comes to universal health care. You said it's working, but let me tell you that universal health care cannot work in this country at the moment. If at all, it can only work